Hi, Nick Berry here from marketing-sales.eu, and I've just spent the last 45 minutes trying to record a nice introduction to this video, which I can use for all the other videos, but it's ridiculous. And I keep sounding like someone who's like, do you put the name of the company there, or www.marketing-sales.eu? It doesn't really work. Anyway, I've been a freelance copywriter and creative director in the marketing and advertising business for the last over 20 years. The last 12 or 13 I've spent working almost 100% on business to business or B2B marketing, after having spent almost 10 years working on business to consumer, so I know both ends of the trade quite well, and business to business is really my thing now, and that's what I love doing. So the point of these videos is going to be to provide some insights, hopefully, into how you specifically market for B2B, what the differences are between B2B and B2C and whatever, and some general thoughts that I hope might be interesting and useful to you. You can find these as blogs on my website, www.marketing-sales.eu. It's in the description below. Anyway, here's a story. I remember some years back I was giving a seminar to a client of mine, big local company, one of these big German companies with 60,000 employees, fifth or sixth generation, God knows. Anyway. And in the course of the seminar, the subject was, how do we make our marketing materials more effective? How do we get a greater return on the stuff that we send out? And so, just as an example, we took the corporate brochure, which was lying on the table. I said, all right, the thing is, if you want to get someone to read your stuff, you have to understand what that person wants from you. There's a big difference from what you want to say. And then, not only that, but when and where, which is the question I asked the guys and girls in the room. When and where is anyone going to get this brochure? When am I going to actually receive this, and where and under what circumstances will I read it? Sounds a bit stupid, but if you're producing a corporate brochure, you have to think about who's going to read it and when and where they're going to read it. Sure as hell won't be in bed tucked up with a cup of coffee. They'll be reading something else. So, trying to encourage people to think about that. Like, who will be reading your stuff, and where and when will he or she be reading it? And I said, okay, it's a corporate brochure. Loads and loads of companies produce corporate brochures, most companies. I'm not talking about annual reports, I'm talking about stuff that talks about their products or services and hopefully gets me as the customer to buy from them. So all right, this was an industrial company making industrial products like so many others. And I said, where am I going to get this brochure? When am I ever going to receive it? Who's going to give it to me? What's the situation going to be? And eventually we took as an example a trade fair, quite a likely place to receive a corporate brochure. So I said, what literally will be happening in terms of when I receive your brochure at a trade fair? I will have visited your stand, I will have had a conversation with one of your salespeople, maybe with you. And at the end of it, we would have a nice conversation, maybe a coffee, maybe a couple of little sandwiches or a piece of chocolate. And at the end of it, you give me some little toy, which you've had produced for the game show, and your brochure. And I go away and we shake hands and agree to talk later, hopefully. Now, what am I doing as your buyer at the trade show in the first place? Well, my boss has sent me there to research the products you're making and the products that your competitors are making, because we need them to do something that we're doing. So I've been sent from, let's say, Portugal to Denmark for 3 days to hang around this trade fair, making meetings with all the people who might be supplying the stuff that I need. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked on a trade fair or been at a trade fair for more than about 4 hours, but the minute you get over 4 hours, you've pretty much seen everything you want to see and you're bored senseless. But I've been told to stay there for the full 3 days by my boss, because he's paid for the ticket and he's paid for my hotel, and that's what I'm doing there. So I dutifully go around every day making my meetings. I have 4 or 5 meetings a day. If I'm lucky, I get a lunch out of somebody. In the evening, I go back to my hotel and I sit in the bar on my own and I drink beers, or I go up to my room and I watch a dodgy video, or maybe I call my wife. And I'm saying here that I'm a man. 80%, if you've ever been to a trade show, 80% of the people doing the deals will be men, and 80% of them will be wearing more or less the same suit. Anyway, or the new casual look. Anyway, so there I am, I'm back in the hotel, I'm sat in the bar until, I don't know what, 10:30, 11 in the evening, 4 or 5 beers more than I planned to have, and I know I've got to be up at 7 because I've got an 8:30 meeting scheduled for the morning, and I'm going to have some breakfast before I go. That's what it's been like being at the trade fair. And while I was there for the 2 or 3 days, I gathered together a big pile of brochures, you know, this kind of number, and I put them in my bag, and I'm dutifully going to take them back to my boss with my report of conversations I had. Still haven't read any of them, of course. I've taken them, shaken hands with people, put them in my bag and gone on to the next stand. Now, here I am on my flight home. I'm in my early 40s. I've got 2 kids, not too sure whether I want them or not. I've got a wife I'm not too sure whether I want. Now, this is me just sketching a scenario. I'm not saying that everyone is this position, but this is a credible scenario. So I've now got a 3-hour flight from Denmark back to Portugal. First hour of that I managed to use up looking through the in-flight magazine and wondering whether I need a €700 aluminium suitcase, cabin trolley, and whether my wife would appreciate a different kind of perfume. Not that she wears much perfume anyway. But I while away about an hour doing that, eating my bag of peanuts, drinking my cold glass of red wine, leafing through whatever I can find, reading the sick bag instructions, reading what to do when we crash into the ocean. And when I finished doing all this, because it's a short haul flight, I haven't got a nice video to watch, I couldn't be bothered to read a book because there's a fat guy next to me snoring and dribbling into his coffee. So with nothing left to do and another at least hour of this flight before I finally touch down at Lisbon again, I reach up into the overhead compartment and I pull out my overfull bag and I take out the brochures that I gathered at the trade fair, and I take out your brochure and I turn the page and I read what? So if I now read something that says, for the last 65 years, we have been delivering innovative solutions for cutting-edge customers in... I'm going to hate you before I've got through the first sentence, all right? You want to know how to make your marketing materials, and I mean that's your website. That's if you produce a corporate brochure, any of the stuff that you put in front of your customers. Think about a scenario like that while you're writing it. You'll save yourself so much rubbish. Hope that was useful to you. See you next time.